Hello everyone, it's a beautiful day today. I've got to go to Hiroshima City. Right now I am in Toyosaka, but I'm about to drive to Saijo. First thing I'm going to do there is go to the onsen, get a nice bath, have a shave, and then after that I'll head to the city, the big city. And I figured between here and Saijo, we'll just make a little video. I tried to set my camera up so it's pointing to the left because I want you guys to be able to see the beautiful countryside. Because right now everything is in bloom. It looks really nice. And I figured, hey, it would look very good on the camera to show that. But getting my camera set up to where it's just pointing straight to the left out the window is a little challenging. So instead, I've got it sitting on the dash at kind of at an angle, so you get a somewhat decent view of the countryside. So I think you can kind of see it. So right now, like I said, I'm in Toyosaka. I think just from what I can tell, you can see some of the countryside. Whenever I get a little out of the town here, you'll be able to see a much bigger view of the sprawling small mountains and the countryside. But anyway, I haven't uploaded any videos recently. I do have some things shot. And I sent some footage to my daughter. I was talking with her a few days ago about my channel and some videos that I was working on. And she said she would like to try editing one of my videos. And of course, I was very happy to hear that because it's my daughter. I know that she's interested in those things. She likes doing creative things, videos, editing, and that sort of stuff. So I was very happy to hear that. And of course, I quickly got together one of my, I guess you could say, upcoming videos about the vending machine. I found a vending machine that's about 14-minute drive or so from my house, and it has frozen pizza made with local ingredients. Pretty interesting. So I decided to shoot that, and I got all of that footage together and sent it to her. I didn't give her a whole lot of direction because I figured I'll just kind of let her do with it what she wants to do with it, and we'll see how it comes out. But I did let her know just a couple of parameters. One of those was, because she wanted to know if I use music or whatever. And the answer is yes, of course. I sometimes use music, but I wanted to make sure that she didn't use anything that required some kind of permission or would get me a copyright strike. So I let her know, just use music that's either copyright free or that can be used for free commercially with a credit, and, etc. Otherwise, just don't use any. So I'm looking forward to that coming out. I hope you're looking forward to it too. I don't know how regularly she'll be able to edit videos. Some of my simple videos, of course, like this one, there's no reason to send to her to edit. At most, I would color this video if it needs it, and then do minor quick edits on the phone, and then upload it. The more, I guess you could say, important, complicated, and edit-heavy videos, I would rather do those on my computer and That way I have more control. I will say that the video editing program I have on my phone, I only paid about $10 for an entire year of use, but it has a lot of really nice quick controls and a huge variety of filters, and I can apply those and then actually go back and adjust and fine-tune. So it does make simple editing much faster. If I don't have much to do, it's definitely a really good tool to use. But for professional editing and longer form stuff and more complicated stuff, I will definitely use the computer. Anyway, as far as what's going on at the house, like I said, not only today is the weather good, but up until just about a day and a half ago, the weather was really excellent. And during the day, it was getting up to about 20 to 22 degrees Celsius. So maybe around 77, 78 degrees, something like that. Is that right? Or no, less, or maybe a little less. I'm not sure in Fahrenheit. But about a day and a half ago, it started raining. It rained pretty heavy. I've kind of taken the past couple of days off as a little break, and just I did some sightseeing, I guess you could say, but it was very relaxed. Not particularly planned or whatever. I just went to a couple of local towns. One I've been to before, but when I went to that one, I didn't really, quote, tour. I just went to a couple of shops and walked around, looked at their stuff. I probably spent about $7 when I was shopping. Oh wait, no, my bad. I spent about $15 because I did wind up buying a couple of towels. And those towels I'm actually going to be using for the onsen today. I got tired of paying 300 yen. Every time you go to this onsen, if you want the small towel, like the hand towel that goes on your head, and then the big towel, the bath towel, to dry your body, if you want those, they're 150 yen each, and that's stupid because the bath costs 700 yen. So 1,000 yen every single time you go to the onsen, that's expensive. That is not normal price that I'm used to for an onsen. Even when I was in Tokyo, I didn't pay 1,000. I could go to a public bath for 500 or less. And you can bring your own towel, so what's the point in paying 300 here extra? So, and they went up on their prices too. Their prices used to be cheaper than that. They've gone up twice. So the last time they were 900. So the towels were 100 each. Small towel 100, big towel 100. And the bath was 700. But before that, the bath was a little cheaper. So it went from 800 to 900, and now it's 1,000. And that's kind of one of the things that was on my mind about what's going on in Japan right now as it relates to the yen, the economy, wages, and all of that. And I felt like I kind of wanted to talk about that since it was on my mind and I've been witnessing it firsthand. Maybe it would be relevant to some of you. And basically, two main things got me to thinking about it. But there's a third thing that's been going on for quite a while that is a more important issue for me personally, I guess you could say. But the two things are, the first one I just mentioned, the prices at the onsen going up. there's no reason for a place like that to be charging $1,000. I mean, $700 just for the bath, and then another $300 for 2 towels. That's just ridiculous. Okay. Number 2, I went to get my hair cut. There is this place in Japan called QB House. QB House is basically a budget hair salon for anybody. So adults and children, men and women, it doesn't matter. You can go get your hair cut at QB House pretty cheap. I can't say that I ever see any women in there. I believe that most women don't want to get their hair cut in a place like that. Okay, it's obvious. It's only like, I don't know, in dollars, maybe $10. Okay. Let me try to adjust this here a little bit. I'm trying to keep it from rattling as much as possible. Okay, so let me back up. When I first saw QB House in Japan was many years ago, and I can't remember exactly if the price was 1,000 at that time or if it was like 900, but I can say this for sure: it was no more expensive than 1,000 yen for a haircut at QB House. That's a fact. It was no more than that. Well, during the pandemic, things were a little up and down for a while, but whenever these places were open and you could get your hair cut, they made a change. And normally when you go in to get your hair cut there, they have a machine, okay? They don't have a cashier. You don't pay the people. They just have a machine that takes your money. You just put the yen in the machine, coins or bills, and then you press a button. There are only 2 buttons. One button is basically like for elderly, and they get a discount. And the other button is for everybody else. Everybody else has to pay full price. And it's not a huge difference. It's like 100 or 200 yen or something like that cheaper for seniors and all of that. But anyway, you could say that, if I remember correctly, maybe 1,000 for adults and everyone else, and then 800 or whatever for seniors. But I noticed one day when I went in there, they changed their machine. They still had the same machine set up, but they altered it. They covered some parts of it, and they changed it where it basically looked like everyone was now having to pay the same price. That's what it looked like to me. But the price went up. It went up to like 1,100. All right? That wasn't very long ago. I would say maybe a year ago, it went up to 1,100. Well, the other day I went in there to get my hair cut, and wouldn't you know it, now it's $1,250. So it has gone up from when I started using it at 1,000 a few years ago to now $1,250. And within a very short time, it made both those jumps, okay? So for several years, the price didn't move at all. And then now suddenly, it's jumped twice. Sorry, this road is a little bumpy. If you're watching the video, then you might get a little nauseous or something, or I apologize for that. Anyway, you might wonder, oh well, why does that matter? Or you might say that's just the nature of things. Inflation, prices go up, etc., etc. Well, there are a couple of issues, okay? Number one, inflation is not natural. It's only natural for a broken monetary system. So no matter where you live in the world, for some reason, a lot of people think, most people even think, that prices going up is natural, like it's supposed to happen. But that's incorrect. If prices are going up, then that means that the monetary system doesn't work correctly. It's broken. So keep that in mind. The other thing, whoops, my power plug for the phone is coming out. Okay, anyway, here in Japan, I don't know how much you know. I'm going to assume that you don't know anything about the history of Japan's economy. But basically, Japan started to have a boom in the 1980s. You could say that things were really, really nice in the 80s. Japan was considered the economic miracle. You know, they were doing really, really well. People were spending money. They were getting what they wanted. They were traveling the world. You know, they were living large. Things were nice. Things were hopping in Japan. And then in the early 90s, there was a tremendous crash because everything that was going on at the time, it just wasn't sustainable. The stock market crashed, real estate, and everything just crashed. Now, the interesting thing is, to this day, the stock market still hasn't recovered. It still hasn't regained where it was in the early 90s when it crashed. Now think about that. That's been 30 years ago. So for 30 years, the stock market in Japan still has not recovered from that crash. That's how bad it was. Now here's the interesting thing. If you were an English teacher at that time, and this applies for many other jobs, I'm just saying English teacher as an example because that's what I was doing when I first came here. I'm a foreign English teacher, and that's what I was doing for a while. But if you were a foreign English teacher right before the crash, the money you were making was not that bad. And I mean, it wasn't stellar, but you could have a decent life, enjoy Japan, do a little bit of travel, even get married here, have a family. And it wasn't a, quote, bad wage, right? But from then until now, what has happened to the foreign English teacher salary, and what has happened to a lot of other people's salary? Very simple. It's been stagnant. It hasn't gone up at all. It hasn't gone up. And this is the crazy part. Even from the time that I started looking, now think about this. I've been in Asia for over 10 years now. I spent about 7 years in China, and the rest of that time I've spent in Japan. From before I even left the US until now, the advertisements that these companies, these English companies, whether it's an Eikaiwa, which is like an English language school, or a company like Interact or Altea or whatever that hires ALTs, assistant language teachers, for the school system, the advertisements they have now are the same price, the same money that they were advertising over 10 years ago. They always advertise 2.4 to 3 million. Now, I don't know when you're watching this video. Maybe you're watching this video in the future. Maybe it's 2024 or 2025 or whatever. I don't know. But I'm willing to bet that it's still exactly the same. because there's no hope right now for the value of the yen and the recovering of the Japanese economy anytime soon. And I've studied about it a lot. I've read a lot of commentary about it. I've watched a lot of experts, economic experts' opinions about it. And I'm very hard pressed to find anything positive, because for the past 30 years, they've been paying a lot of people the same exact wages. And that's one of the things I don't understand about Japan, especially when you're in a city like Tokyo or Osaka, these big cities. But I mean, heck, even living in a smaller city like Hiroshima, if you actually live in the city, there is a lot of stuff you have to pay for that it just doesn't match the salary. I don't understand how a lot of people can pay for those things. And when you go into these nice stores, I have to guess that's just a guess, but I have to guess that a lot of Japanese are paying for their stuff on credit, get their car on a lot of them do like to lease, and then, but getting clothes and getting a house, getting basically everything that they have, I think that it must be coming from some type of credit or loan or something, because I don't see how they can afford it on the wages that they have. I mean, a family with 2 wages, mother and father, is pretty much a must. If you want to have a relatively decent lifestyle and to be able to live in a city, it's practically impossible if you're single. And a lot of young Japanese, when they finish school, they're just staying with their parents or moving back in with their parents, and they're not getting married. And a big part of that is because of the expense of moving out. Getting married is expensive. Moving out and taking care of things on your own is expensive. So what's the point? Now imagine being a foreigner and having to meet all of these ridiculous qualifications, because you're supposed to have at least a 4-year university degree. And when you go to these jobs, they typically want you to wear a nice suit or business suit and look professional, and they prefer for you to have some type of other certification or qualification, such as your maybe like not an IELTS, now if you have an education certificate, like a teacher certificate from your home country, that's excellent. So that's very, very good. But that requires specialist training, in your university or your school to get that certificate. And to become a registered teacher, that's a specific course. So this requires time and money on your part to have these things. Or if you want to have some kind of special English certificate to show that you have the ability to not only understand but also to teach English in a grammatically correct way, then this is extra time and money. And then on top of that, do you have any experience? Of course, they want you to have some experience. And another step is, do you already have a visa? Because if you don't have a visa, then it becomes even harder to get a job. They want you to already have residency or some kind of work visa. If you don't, it becomes hard. And this isn't just people telling me this. This is also my own experience. Everybody knows that. Whenever you interview for a job in Japan, that's one of the things that they want to know. Do you already have residency? Because the process of just switching your visa is much preferable for them because of ease of the ease of applying and changing it, but primarily because of the cost. It's much more expensive for the company to pay for your visa than it is for them to pay for you just to get it switched. So they're not as willing to offer you your first initial visa. They're stingy about those things. But anyway, the money that I was making for my last company is literally the same range of pay that they were giving decades ago for teachers doing the same job. And so I see the yen going down in value, which means that anything that comes from outside of Japan is going up in price. Plus, now I'm seeing even domestic stuff go up drastically and continually in price. But what about wages? I don't see wages going up. You can literally see an increase. That's a 25% increase from 1,000 yen to 1250. Well, that increase in less than a year. Wages don't go up that fast. And the whole reason that people go to QB House or places like that is because they're not expensive. I mean, how many people do you know that go to a budget barbershop because they do a really phenomenal job and they take a lot of time to get it just right? No, it's cheap, it's quick, and it's just good enough. You know, you get what you pay for. So there you go. So that's something to consider. If you don't have a highly skilled, in-demand type of skill set for Japan with really good high-level business Japanese skill, language skill. This includes reading and writing, so that you can pass the Japanese language proficiency tests. If you don't have those things, then your only option is to teach a language. So, I would tell you that if you're going to come here and teach a language, you better be prepared for a lot of the hidden costs, and realize that more than likely things are, well, you're not going to be able to build a long-term life on a solid foundation of acceptable income just by teaching a language in Japan. That's not going to be possible. The second thing is you have to really understand that, man, sometimes the traffic is a little crazy. People are just stopped in the road. But the other thing is that the economy in Japan is not getting better, it's getting worse. The value of the yen is dropping. Even though tourism opened back up, there was a short spike. I think that was more about optimism, but immediately after that, it continued its decline. And there are some people predicting that just within the next few years, the value of the yen will go down so much that $1 will equal 200 yen. Once upon a time, you could say $1 equals 100 yen, and for some ridiculous reason, some YouTubers still say that. Some people on YouTube will say, "Oh, it costs 10,000 yen or $100." No, it doesn't. That's not even close. That's not even slightly close to the reality of the situation. If you buy something that costs 10,000 yen, that's less than $80. And can you imagine in the future 10,000 yen being $50? Because that's where it's headed. That's literally where it's headed. So for somebody who wants to tour Japan, that's great. That's great news. But it's terrible news for people living here. And not just foreigners, for Japanese. Because think about it, the things that we buy that are manufactured and brought from outside the country, the buying power of the yen goes down, so it becomes more expensive to get those things in the country, and then the prices go up. But when I start seeing prices for services go up locally, that bothers me. And I just wanted to share that. I'm about to pull up at the Hoto Kamo at the onsen. There it is right there. Can you see it? And this guy was just lollygagging, and then he saw me, so he took off. That was funny. Anyway, I'm about to go into the onsen, so this is good timing. I think this is a good place to end it. Just some stuff for you guys to think about, because it's if you want to come here and you want to live here, then you can definitely do it. Okay, and I believe that if I can do it, then definitely anybody can do it, for sure. But I would recommend that you really take into consideration all this kind of stuff. Really take into consideration all the stuff that I've mentioned to you about the cost of living here, the economy just continually going down the tubes, and it seems to be kind of accelerating recently. Post-pandemic stuff seems to be progressively getting worse at a faster rate, okay? So it's always getting worse. It's been getting worse. But the thing is, wages are just completely stagnant. So no matter where you go, they don't even, they just, you should see the smirk or the passive brush it aside attitude that you get when you talk to a company about a higher wage, because they don't even want to talk about it. When you ask them directly, why can't I get a raise? Why can't I get, I mean, it's not about just getting paid more. They literally can't pay you more. They can't. And the reason is because the economy is just trash. The value of the yen is continually becoming worse. And so the idea of actually getting paid more money so that you can keep up with the rising prices and the devaluation of the yen, the weakened buying power, they can't even do that. They can't even do that. So that's one of the main reasons why, people talk about in the US the massive inflation that's going on. Yeah, but if you've noticed, at least they've got wages going up to help match that or to help offset that. That doesn't exist here in Japan. Right now, they can't do that. And there's fees and taxes for freaking everything. That's another thing that I'd like to remind you of, is you're going to get a lot of fees and taxes, and you had no idea. I just got another bill the other day for over $400 because I own a car. So every single year I have to pay a fee just because I own a car. It's the same thing for residency. No matter where you live in Japan, you have to pay a resident tax. And if you're in a city, it's much higher. It could be $2,000. Now the amount of money that a teacher makes, I know this sounds crazy, but it's true. Once a year, you have to pay resident tax no matter where you live. And if you're a foreign English teacher, that could literally mean all of your salary for an entire month. Okay? In a place like Tokyo or Osaka, it could be like $2,000 for 1 year. That's more than you'll make in a month as a full-time teacher. An entire month just to pay a residence tax. Isn't that ridiculous? But what can they do? The government has no way of getting any more money. The young people that are working, I mean, the amount of people that are actually of working age and able to contribute to taxes and supporting society is not that large. And the yen is tanking. Everything is band-aids here when it comes to the economy and the yen and all of that. So anyway, I just want to leave it there. It's something for you to think about. So if you're wanting to move to Japan or live in Japan or get a house here and that sort of thing, then yes, absolutely you can do it. But I would recommend that you think about what you're going to do here long term. What are you going to do after you get here? It's okay to even come here to teach English if you just want a short-term experience. But if you're thinking about like living here and staying here, yes, it's okay to come here as a teacher and to do that for a time. But what's your long-term plan? And it should be a good one. You should really give some thought to it and talk to some people who've done that and moved on to something else, and consider what they've done that worked and didn't work, and then use that whenever you're making a decision for what you will do in the future. But anyway, that's all for now. I got to rush because I need to get in here so I can wash up, shave, relax, and then go to the city. Thank you for joining me. Love you all. Thank you for your support. All of my links will be in the description. Until next time, arigato gozaimasu. I love you. Thank you. And じゃあね。